Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and finally, for the first time in a long time, we're sitting here doing a classic Celtic transfer talk video. The last time I'd done one of these, I can't even remember what position we were in terms of bringing in players. But we've brought in James McCarthy, we've brought in Joe Hart, we've been linked with everybody around the continent. But today we're here to talk about, and how do you fancy this one? French strikers. It's something that Celtic do well. Before we go any further with the video, please make sure to check out the top line of the description. This video has been brought to you by OneFootball. If you already have it, then you'll know the script, but if you don't, OneFootball is simply the best app in the footballing game. It'll give you everything you need to know about this season in the Scottish Premiership and every sort of league around the world, in England, France, Italy, whatever. You can go there, check stats, fixtures, league tables, get some news stories, and keep you just generally up to date with the footballing landscape. Use my link in the top line of the description. You're helping both me and the sponsor out. And yeah, make sure to hit like and subscribe. Let's go and talk about Celtic's transfers. So Celtic apparently have a striker on the radar. We are preparing for life after Odsonne Edouard, which sounds a bit daft to say when you think about it, because we've just had a striker emerge from Japan and score a hat-trick on his home debut at the weekend, but business is not done. And I think the majority of us as Celtic fans would agree that we all said if Edouard leaves, we might need one or two strikers. It wasn't just going to be the case of bringing in one and solving that issue. We're looking at Ajeti maybe not being up to scratch. We're looking at Lee Griffiths being someone whose place in the squad is unknown. So two strikers was probably a situation we'd find ourselves in. And I think Celtic have found the guy that they should really make their move on. But it is dependent, I think, on whether or not Edouard does leave the club. The speculation has been going on for weeks that he could be off to Brighton or he could be off elsewhere. But nothing really has came of it yet. So they need to get that done, but I'm very excited at the prospect of the guy we're looking at right now. I'm going to presume, because he's French, his second name is pronounced Henri, but we're going to be talking about Mr. Thomas Henry, who currently plays for Leuven in Belgium, the top flight, where last season he finished second top scorer with 21 goals. The man's 26, about to turn 27, and he's 6'4". Yep, 6'4". Celtic apparently interested in a £7 million move for the French forward as he prepares for a big move. And I couldn't be more excited after looking at the clips and reading up about him this morning and last night. He's someone who brings a completely new dynamic to Celtic. I mean, that stat alone about being 6'4". When was the last time Celtic had a big striker? The last time I can think of is like Jan Vennegoor of Hesseling. You know what I mean? And it's not as if this is a striker at 6'4" who's got to come in and be a lump of wood. He's not going to be someone who's coming into Celtic to be a sort of Sean Dyche Brexit ball forward who's going to stand there and just head the ball all day. Of course, that attribute of his game is very strong and it's going to be strong. But you'd hope so at 6'4" anyway. But he's someone who does possess technical ability. We'll talk about that. He's someone who possesses some good footballing skills. And he's going to be there to do the job that what the other strikers have done over the years. He's not there just to lump the ball to. This is an actual football player with talent at his feet. I mean, I was just looking at the stats, and in 2019 and 20, he was playing in the second division, and he took the step up, and people doubted whether or not he could do it in the top flight of Belgium. He'd done it in the top flight last season, scoring 21 goals in 33 games, getting 7 assists into the bargain as well. This season already, he's scored 3 in his opening 3 games as well. His record over the past 3 years is absolutely tremendous. I think it's something like 40 goals in 70 games. That is an amazing return for a striker. For a striker who, a lot of people would automatically look at a 6'4" striker and go, well, they're going to be useless, they're going to be slow, they're going to be clunky, they're really only there to head the ball. This guy is mobile, and he's been compared a lot to Jamie Vardy, a late bloomer. As I said, he's going on to 27 years old in September. He has been a bit of a late bloomer, but I mean, it's someone that, when I look at, just really does excite me. Furuhashi offers something completely different to what Thomas Henry would bring to Celtic. Very different, in fact. One, you're looking at 5'7", under 10 stone, because people wanted to make a big deal of that, of course. The other being 6'4", very physical and an aerial presence. the dynamic of those two together could be very, very dangerous. Because one thing about Thomas Henry, if you go and look up some videos of him, if you read articles of him, he's got fantastic link-up play. 7 assists last season along with his 21 goals. He's not exactly selfish. And I've been reading his link-up play is great. He's very technical with the ball. He likes to drop off defenders. He's got to be someone who, the combination of him and Furuhashi could be genuinely lethal. The pace, the movement of Furuhashi, we've seen his movement at the weekend, playing off of the strength and physicality of a 6'4" striker, and vice versa. You know, both of them doing things for each other is a very promising combination. Now, I don't know how it would work strictly in terms of Ange's system and formation, because we know so far that Ange looks to play a 4-3-3. That would suggest maybe Kyogo goes out on the left or whatever, where you've got Christie playing well just now. Does he switch it up to have two up front? I don't know. That does make it a little bit of a headache, but the prospect of those two playing together would be brilliant. And the thing is about Henry as well, he is also a player, and you can see why Ange is picking up these sort of players. You go and look at the statistics and the analytics of Henry last season. Very good at finding space, just like Furuhashi was. We've seen that, and it was dissected really well on Sports Scene if you haven't seen it. But the space that Furuhashi was finding and the knowledge that he was using, his football and IQ, the same thing is going to happen with the likes of Thomas Henry, from what I understand. Someone who's very good at movement, someone who's very, very much on the ball and smart, and uses his body well in those situations too. Now, the big stumbling block in all of this is the fee, £7 million. How often do we see Celtic shell out fees as high? You know, Odsonne Edouard broke that transfer record of £9 million a few years ago. He came in, and that took how many years to break? It was so long. I think it was 6.5 or something before that, and then Odsonne breaks it for 9. So that makes it a bit difficult. £7 million. Are Celtic really going to spend £7 million on a striker? Well, until Odsonne Edouard leaves the club, or the club at least know that Edouard is definitely leaving, this is an absolute no-go, I would imagine. Not saying that I don't want them to go for it. I would love them to go for it. I'm looking at everything from this big guy, and I'm like, wow, bring him into Celtic. But until Edouard is going, or gone, then there is definitely no chance of this happening, I would suggest. I think that we need that 9 million or whatever we're going to bring in for Edouard. I say 9 million, I'm thinking of his fee we got him for there. We need to bring in that 20 million or whatever for Edouard first, and then we make the move and we bring in the striker, which we'll need to do. We need to spend that money, but until that point, I really don't see it happening. Celtic have done, apparently the record are reporting that we're leading the chase here to sign this guy, which is very impressive when you look at some of the clubs who are interested in him. 3 of the clubs that apparently Celtic are ready to beat for Mr. Henry here are Newcastle and Crystal Palace, both Premier League sides. Also remember, Patrick Vieira is now in charge of Crystal Palace. You'd think that would maybe have some form of influence on the move, because Vieira is of course one of the greatest French players of all time. And Roma, Jose Mourinho's Roma, sorry. A very, very, very attractive move to play with one of the greatest managers of all time, yet apparently Celtic are ready to beat them. So I don't know if there has been conversations, I don't know if there's promises been made, I don't know what's happening there, but apparently we are leading the line. And if that is the case, I mean, I'm not sitting here and saying I'm banking on this to happen. I'm not saying it's guaranteed to happen. Take everything with a pinch of salt, as I always say. But if Celtic somehow do come out the ones to win this move, if Palace, Roma and Newcastle have made formal bids or whatever, then it's a very promising sign from a board that I've been very critical of, if they've managed to land this deal amongst all that interest. But we can only wait and see what happens. Once again, it could just be paper talk. We don't know. I think it really does depend on Edouard leaving the club. But he has spoke. Henry has spoken. He's gave a come get me plea. He does want to move on. He spoke about maybe heading to one of the bigger leagues or heading to another country anyway. He said, I'm 26 years old. I have no more time to waste. I have room for improvement and I think I can go higher. Do better. I have ambitions. We'll see what happens. Openly ready to leave Leuven in Belgium. Could it be to Celtic? I really hope it is to Celtic, but we can only wait and see. Everything about him, go and look him up, go watch some videos and all the rest of it. He looks a real threat, and he could add something to this Celtic side we've not really seen in a long time. So aye. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you have enjoyed, make sure to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.